Hi, I'm Jody Cohn, and I am here with one of the smartest people I know. Wendy Myers is a detox expert, a functional diagnostic nutritionist, and NES bioenergetic practitioner. She is the #1 best-selling author of Limitless Energy: How to Detox Heavy Metals and End Exhaustion and Chronic Fatigue. And she's super passionate about the importance of detoxification to help live a long, disease-free life, and she created the Myers Detox Protocol and Mitochondria Detox after working with thousands of clients. And she's just super smart and always has cutting edge information. So I'm super excited to find out more about what you think are the top causes of stress and sympathetic dominance.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so this is a huge topic. It's something that I address a lot with people that I'm working with, and especially right now, we're under a tremendous amount of stress with this pandemic. And, stress, it's one of the number one reasons people develop chronic illness. And stress can also be caused from emotional trauma. But it can a big stressor right now is EMF, or electromagnetic fields. And so we have a lot of this kind of invisible stress that's acting on our bodies that we're not really even aware of. But it is acting on our bodies. There's thousands of research studies that show that EMF is a stressor that can cause anxiety and depression and so many other different symptoms. And then there's nutritional stress, and then there's like financial stress right now that some people are dealing with. There's, even if people don't feel stressed, there's still stressors acting on us that are impacting our health in significant ways.
Yeah, and I love that you pointed out like the emotional stress, the physical stress, even, if we're eating a food we're allergic to, and then those silent stressors, the things that we don't even realize that are really impacting us and all around us. I'm curious if you like, what are some of your strategies for kind of, especially with the EMF frequencies,
Mhm.
um, grounding your body, helping to give it a negative charge, balancing kind of that frequency. How do you prefer to accomplish that?
Yeah, well, when I'm working with clients, my goal is to get them into kind of a parasympathetic state, because I can't do with them what I want to do unless they're in that state. So they can't detox or digest or rest and recover unless they're in that parasympathetic state. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. They're just going from protocol to protocol to supplement and this, and they don't realize that they're not digesting their food, and they're not able to meet their health goals until they relax and get into that parasympathetic state. So I have a number of tools in my little bag to when I'm working with people. So #1, grounding. I
Yes.
want people to do earthing. This is very, very simple. Just, walking on the beach, or laying on the ground, or going for a picnic, or walking barefoot, or going in forest bathing, or what have you, or ranch bathing, which what I'm doing here in Texas, is
Basically anything in nature, because
yes.
it kind of puts your body back in balance. But I want to hit on something you said earlier, because I really want to stress that point. This idea that you can't even start, it's like trying to get in the car and getting it to go without having the keys to start the ignition. Can you talk about that just a little bit more? The need for
Yes.
parasympathetic state as a precursor to detoxification?
Yes. Well, when people, the body only has so much energy. Okay. And so, for many people, they're in this kind of chronic stressed out state. Their thoughts can be on a loop of these negative thoughts. Their immune system is constantly fighting stuff at night, or they're not sleeping well because they're stressed, and they wake up the next day and they're on this blood sugar roller coaster. All these domino effect things are happening when people are under stress, and their body just doesn't have the energy or resources to then think about heavy metal detoxification. I mean, that's on the back burner. That's
Right.
the last thing the body is dealing with. It's just trying to keep the brain powered and get some nutrients from the food, just the basics. And
Right.
that's
You
real.
can't
Yeah.
mow the lawn when the house is on fire.
Yeah. That's just, so you have to get back to the basics. You need to get into a relaxed state. And that's so hard for people in our fast-paced society. And they're looking at their blue light screens constantly in the television, the cell phone, the lights are on. I got a light shining in my face right now, telling my brain and my body, it's noon. We're not sleeping,
Yeah.
and so, and then add the EMF in there that's constantly acting on our bodies. It's just, more and more, radio waves and EMFs are acting on our body. With every neighbor's got a wireless router, and we've got 5G towers going up. So there's just so much acting on our body that we're not aware of, and the body just can't relax. And so
Yeah.
we've got to kind of biohack the body, work with it, and get kind of back to the basics, get back to nature, and trying to work with the body to help it relax. And that means,
Yeah. And you mentioned heavy metals, and I'm curious if you can talk about how heavy metals interface with EMF.
yes, well, yeah. So metals act like antennas. They will attract EMF. Dr. Klinghardt has talked about this extensively, Dr. Mercola, where if you have heavy metals like, mercury or lead, aluminum, other metals, which we all have some of those three metals, we all have some of that to a degree. It's impossible. It's
Yeah.
statistically
Well, it's
impossible
in our
not to have
food,
these.
it's in
Yeah.
our vaccines. Sometimes it's being sprayed in the air. It's really hard to avoid.
Yeah, it's in the air, food, and water.
Yeah.
So even if you're drinking perfectly filtered water, you're showering in metals. If you're breathing air, all the smokestacks from industry and mining, and look around you, everything is metal. It came
Yes.
from somewhere, and all that gets into the atmosphere, and you breathe it in every time you go
Right. And you're
walking.
you're right. Most of our houses have metal pipes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so we're just exposed to this everywhere. And so you just need to be aware of this fact. That, I, talk about heavy metal detox a lot, but, EMF is a big thing that I work with my clients to try to reduce that exposure or give them tools to help to, reduce the negative effects on the body so that people can get into that parasympathetic state and get better and get on that track to healing.
What are some things that work pretty well? Like what are strategies that you've had a lot of success with in helping to get people into the parasympathetic state, especially in the face of all these challenges?
Yeah, so I mentioned grounding, but that isn't enough today to counteract the effects of EMF. It's the growing amount of waves that are magnetic waves that are interfering in our body, and so our body's processes and how it works. And so we have to do a lot more than that. So some very simple things that I do is I worked with a friend of mine. His name is Robert Marking. He developed this pendant about 20 years ago. It's called the
20
Harmony.
years ago.
He
Wow.
developed it 20 years ago. It's a Harmony pendant with an eye. And so this is a very, very simple tool that I use that helps to just very quickly get people into a parasympathetic state. It's very, very quick. And you feel, when I first put mine on, I met Robert and he activated it. I immediately went from this super high stress state to being totally relaxed and yawning to where I almost wanted to go to sleep. I mean, my body was just like, it is time to rest.
I think
And,
that's pretty common. Like when people
mm,
have been, it's almost like when after you run a marathon, you just want to take a nap. Like you just haven't given yourself that break.
yeah. I was in an incredibly stressful period of my life when I met Robert, and this pendant helped me so much. I really wanted to get the word out to people. So there's more info about that at
But I love that
harmonypendant.com.
because that's an easy thing to do, right?
Yeah, it's very, very easy. It's one of the basic things I do when I'm working with people. I encourage them, if they're open to it, to try it. And there's lots of info about it on harmonypendant.com. But another thing that I love is this water. It's called Wata. There it is,
What?
Wata. Wata. So you can get this on aquanew.com. I have no affiliation with them. I just drink the water. And it's kind of a polarized water that grounds your body. What does
Right.
grounding mean? You're feeding your body, when you drink this water, you're feeding it billions or trillions, I don't know how many, of negative ions. And so that helps to give your body a negative charge, where EMF frequencies give your body a positive charge.
Oh,
That's
so
why
you're
it's,
you're just balancing.
Yes, you're just negating the bad effects of EMF, giving you that positive charge, and it's amazing. It also gives your body tons of oxygen and tons of hydrogen. So you're not. It's not the water you're drinking. This is just purified water, but there's
Right.
a gas infused into it. It's the fifth state of water that's infused into it, and that's what you're feeding your body. And
Right,
so,
right. Can
yeah,
we talk about that a little
yeah.
bit about like water and what EMF is doing to the water in our cells? Do you want to go into that?
Yes, yes. So what happens with EMFs? So EMFs from wireless internet, from cell phones, from our computers, from the 5G satellites. There's about 60 a month of these satellites being launched into the air that have, so that everyone on the planet can enjoy 5G and getting Netflix on their phone anywhere in Africa or anywhere in the world. And so there's going to be about 20,000 of these by the year 2022.
Oh.
So the Earth's going to just be blanketed in these frequencies. So people need to be thinking about this, because if you think people are stressed now, just
Yeah.
wait. And I'm very concerned about the increase in anxiety, depression, immune system issues, sleep, and all the other health issues that we know are proven in the research
Well,
caused by
yeah,
EMF.
it's radiating us, and there's even you might have even been the one to tell me about this. Some every time the Earth changes its electrical frequency, there's an outbreak of a flu or pandemic.
Exactly. And I personally believe that's what's happening right now with COVID-19, is that, and there's a book, it's called The Invisible Rainbow. And this talks about how every time there has been an increase in EMFs in the environment, say in 1917, all the radio towers went up for people to have radio. And 1918, there was a Spanish flu pandemic. Even before then, when electricity was installed along the railroads, there was another outbreak at that time. And then every time there's been an uptick or some sort of increase in radar or radio waves or 5G towers or what have you, or we go from 3G to 4G, which happened a couple of years ago, we have an outbreak of illness, because people
Right.
that have not adapted to
Right.
this, or whose bodies are just not accustomed to dealing with this, it interferes in their body, and those people are more prone to illness.
Well,
And
we're electrical beings, and
yes,
we need to recalibrate. And also, to your point, we're mostly water. You know,
yeah.
my daughter Rose Curran, when there is lightning storm, they're not allowed out on the water.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And so we have, our bodies have an energy field, and we communicate primarily in that energy field. That's where a lot of communication is happening. It's happening on energy waves. Information is transferred on energy waves. That's why when you listen to a radio and you're tuning into a certain frequency, you're getting that information transferred on that radio wave. And
Right.
that's the same thing that's happening with cell phones. That's what happens in your body. That's how your body works. And
Yes.
so, yeah. And so these EMFs are interfering in that communication. That's why they make us
Yes.
sick. But we also have information stored in our water, in our body. And so, and this water has to have a negative charge to work correctly. And like I mentioned, the EMF causes a positive charge on our body. We don't have the correct charge on our body or in our cells. So of course, everything starts going haywire, including our immunity. And it's proven that EMF reduces the action of macrophages and our natural killer T cells, our B cells, and slows them down. They're not working as effectively. And that's why people that are exposed to EMF have a much, they're less resilient to a pathogen if they catch it. And the EMF irritates these pathogens and causes
Oh,
them to
yeah.
replicate.
Well, I've seen
Yes.
pictures of like mold and how when it's exposed to EMF, it just makes it grow faster. And it's almost like it's poking the bear. It's causing smaller problems to become bigger problems. But one of the things that I love about what you're speaking to is, you know, EMF, it's this external outside microwave, and we can't really control, especially what they're projecting at us from space, but we can control that's a different frequency and we're our own frequency. And the more we can, it's like hygiene, right? You know, we can eat a pint of ice cream because we're stuck indoors, but if we brush our teeth, you know, or go run 5 miles, you know, we're kind of balancing what we're doing as we go. And the water strategy, the earthing strategy, the pendant strategy, these are all really good ways to kind of offset the negative.
Yeah, you got to do everything that you can. Every little bit counts. I also really like, there's a mat called a Pure Wave mat.
Oh, cool.
And it's PMI and PEMF kind
Yeah.
of mat. So it's the first one that was on the market. So they had all the patents right out of the bat in the 80s. And this mat, by laying on it twice a day, helps to charge up your cells to the correct voltage and clear off any EMF. So after you lay on the mat, you're protected for about 8 to 12 hours. And so you do it twice a day. And that really helps to reverse a lot of EMF damage and protect you from future things. But that's one thing. I believe the website's purewavenow.com. And but you can look it up on the internet and find it. And so you would need to do that. But more importantly, there's lots of strategies and ways to block EMF, but it's going to get worse. So like I mentioned, the satellites are going up. And you have to think about strategies to protect yourself, but you need to mitigate the EMF in your environment as well. You need to identify where you have EMF. Many times people are shocked if they get a little, like a $200 tri-field meter. You can get it on Amazon. Walk around your home and look for, high, measure the EMF, and you can look for high sources of it. And people are surprised that their refrigerator that there was just next to, that they eat next to, or an appliance in their bedroom has really, really, really high EMF that it's emitting. And that can have a dramatic effect on people's health. The people that get very gravely ill or even get cancers, forget the stress. I mean, people get very
Well, it
serious
causes
diseases.
stress. It keeps you, it's like background noise that never
Yeah.
goes off.
Yeah.
And even like our house was built in 1930, and it turned out you can get those really cheap things that you just plug into the outlet to see if it's grounded.
Yeah.
We needed to ground our house. That made a huge difference. Even pulling your bed away from the wall so that it's away from the electricity when you sleep.
Yes, yeah, because distance helps a lot. If you can't replace all the wiring if you're in your home, because you can do that, you can at least pull away the bed away from the wall. Especially, a lot of people don't realize they have a smart meter that's in the wall where their head is sleeping at night. And that meter is sending out a signal 25 miles, sometimes every few seconds, just to tell the electric company how much electricity you're using.
Yes.
And so that can have a profound effect. So there's lots of different sources that we need to be aware of. It's not just your computer. It's not just your phone. It's not just the wireless internet. It's not just your neighbor's wireless. It's the electricity in your home, your appliances, sometimes even a clock radio is emitting huge frequencies. And luckily the things that are coming out now, the appliances like computers, even the little earbuds, but not these, but the little earbuds.
Yeah, I know
they
what you're talking
actually don't produce a ton of EMF.
Oh, that's good. My daughter runs with that. I always worry that she's going to get brain cancer.
Yeah, the new one, the
Okay.
newer products coming out, they're aware consumers are not happy about this and are producing better and better products. The newer microwaves are made better. So, but this is a growing issue. There's growing awareness about it. And these are some of the top tools that I recommend to people to help mitigate EMF in their environment and in their body.
That's amazing. And once you kind of help them navigate the external stress and switch into parasympathetic, is it easier for them to detox? Like, do you notice a difference? Do they notice a difference?
Huge. Yeah, absolutely huge. Because, one of the first things I give people is this harmony pendant, and that helps to, help their body deal better with EMF. So their body's not as affected by EMF, but it's doing a lot of other things as well. And it helps people feel much less stressed, gets them in that parasympathetic state. But there's other things that I recommend to them as well. But that can give them a huge shift to be able to meet their health goals, where they're finally sleeping better. A lot of people just aren't sleeping, and that can be throw a huge wrench in any plans that they're trying to make with where they're trying to get with their health.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
people it's like trying to bike uphill and being in the highest gear. It's going to be a lot harder than if you can downgrade. So if you can get them in the right state with the parasympathetic pendant and mitigating EMFs. Is there anything else that you recommend, like grounding? Is it enough to just, walk your dog for 20 minutes? Do they need to be intentional? What do you tell your clients?
Yeah, well, every little bit helps. Getting out in nature, getting the sun on your body. A lot of people just don't do basics. They don't get any sun ever.
Yeah,
And then they wonder why they're not well. They don't feel good.
yeah.
You need to get sunlight in your eyes, like that early morning sunlight into your eyes, and that's really, really helpful to kind of set your circadian rhythms and whatnot. But I also, minerals are super important. Minerals are huge too, because you're going to be in a high stress state unless you have adequate levels of minerals in your body. And just taking minerals can help really calm things down and get you sleeping better, help you feel less anxious. So that's a key thing that a lot of people, a very basic thing that people just are overlooking. We're just talking about super, super simple things here.
Well, and I'm
That, yeah.
curious because what do you, for minerals, like I know you have the option to really do a very personalized self-assessment for minerals. Is that a good place to start? Like, can people mess it up and, there's a balance between all of the minerals? Do you want them to kind of be targeted, or can they just take magnesium, which is relaxing? How do you approach the mineral piece of the puzzle?
Yes. So you have macro minerals and trace minerals. So the macro minerals are things you kind of need a lot of. You're going to need more than you would get in a typical multivitamin. So that's magnesium, zinc. Some people need calcium, not everybody does. And then selenium. So you need quite a bit of those, and maybe potassium. And the other minerals, trace minerals, you just take a trace mineral supplement to get about 80 of those. And I really like Healthy Salt. That's something that I use. It's really the best trace mineral product that I've found. But there's lots of great products out there.
Well, and also maybe you can talk about if you're deficient in minerals, it's harder to detoxify metals. Do you want to
Yeah,
speak to that?
yeah. When people are deficient in minerals, their body is going to be forced to hold on to metals because metals and minerals can do some of the same jobs in the body. If you don't have adequate levels of zinc, your body can use cadmium to repair your arteries. And that's why a lot of people get hardened arteries is from cadmium deposits in their arteries when they're deficient in zinc. They're not eating red meat or eating foods that have zinc in them, whatnot. And so there's lots of examples like that. But when you take minerals, you displace and you push metals out of your body. But not only that, when you take minerals, you are relaxing your body and also giving it the nutrients it needs to work properly. Minerals are like spark plugs in the body. We have to have minerals for our body to just function properly. And just taking adequate levels of minerals solves a lot of people's issues that they've looked at in trying to look at all different types of supplements or programs. It's just back to the basics. We just have to work with our body to get it working correctly.
Right, and stress burns through minerals so
Yes.
quickly. That's such a good point. I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. It's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of information about minerals out there, especially people that are like selling supplements or marketing or writing articles about minerals. They're not that exciting, so people just kind of overlook them or, oh, I'm taking my magnesium, but they're usually taking the wrong forms. And so the forms are important and the amount that you take is important. You don't want too little or too much. So I have a lot of information on my site about
You've
that. But
got great information about that and about like assessing your own personal mineral levels.
yeah. You can do a hair mineral analysis to test your mineral levels, to test your tissue levels of minerals. Testing blood is pretty much worthless.
Yeah,
Yeah, because by the time you have mineral deficiencies in your blood, you're pretty much, you're pretty far gone in your health. So we're not looking at blood. Hair is a much more accurate indicator of tissue levels of minerals. And so, you're not going to hurt yourself taking minerals. So you don't have to do a test to take minerals, but it can help as a guide and give you some good information.
yeah, that's great. This was so helpful, Wendy. How can people learn more about all the products you've been talking about and about working with you?
Yes. Well, if you guys want to learn more about, heavy metal detoxification or learn more about EMF mitigation and reduction in your environment and how to protect your body, you can go to myersdetox.com.
That's wonderful. I just had the thought that EMF and heavy metal detox go hand in hand because the more you can detoxify metals in your body, the less the EMFs are impacting you. So It's great
Exactly.
information.
And the
Thank
less
you.
stress you have, it's just another stressor that you're removing. Because some
Oh,
metals can be very
huge.
stimulating. They can be very, very stimulating and cause stress and interfere in your hormones, interfere in your immunity. So they're a huge stressor. They interfere in all the enzyme processes in your body and just mess it all up.
And you've got fantastic information about all of the metals and where you might find them so you can avoid them and what symptoms they might present as. So, yes, definitely please check out more information on Wendy's site. She's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.